Good morning, guys. It's around 7:40 in the morning here in October, like mid-October, and I thought I'd give you a little bit of a quick tour of the property and kind of give you guys an idea on what you can grow on only 3 acres in Zone 5B, which is a cooler climate as far as like berries and fruit trees go, because I think a lot of people have a misconception that to have an orchard, you need a lot of space. If you look it up, there's quite a few different options. I've seen people plant like 3 trees in one hole in a very small yard, and they say that it works great for them. I've also heard of what's called a micro orchard. So basically, you plant the trees closer together than what's technically recommended, and people have really good luck with that. I would say with that method, you probably are gonna wanna trim them so they keep them smaller, especially on the sides, so that they don't grow into each other, because that's where you can start to get diseases when they start to get too clustered. And when the wind blows, if the branches are like crisscrossed, it can actually cause rubbing. Sorry, I'm demonstrating with my fingers, but it can cause rubbing, and then the rubbing can cause the tree to get an open wound, which can cause infection to enter. So you want to make sure that you're keeping them trimmed. But let's go ahead and I'll show you guys what we have growing here. Okay, so full disclosure, we're starting with the messiest part first. This is actually 3 thornless black raspberries here. Obviously they need trellis really bad. They're actually, I don't know if you can see it, but they are in a raised bed. That white right there is a raised bed. Slightly raised, I should say. But anyway, so those do need trellis, but that's one thing. And then I'm gonna try to slowly swing it around here. So heading on over to this area here, which I just started this year. This is our raspberry area. So we got an all-season pack of raspberries from Indiana Berry Company. So basically, you get raspberries all season. You get early season, mid-season, late season. So right now, the later season raspberries are actually, they just flowered and they're fruiting. And this is mid-October. So that's kind of exciting. This is, like I said, the brand new beds. This is the first year for these. We got some calendula in here, and I actually have a lavender patch there. Long story about those, but basically I forgot them in the refrigerator trying to stratify them from last December clear through March, the seeds. So and they sprouted and they're growing, so I'm like, you know, maybe that's what I need to do from now on, because I had a really hard time for the longest time trying to grow raspberries, or I'm sorry, trying to grow lavender. Let's just move on. Okay, so coming up here, we have what's called cold hardy kiwi. We actually had 2. So as you can see, this one is starting to die off. It grew up. This is the second year for them, but this one right here, I don't know if you can see it, but that stick coming up right here, this is the plant and it's dead. The first frost of the year, for whatever reason, just killed it off. It started to get leaves, and then we got the, you know, like a late spring frost, and that was it. But the other one survived. The only problem is, if you want to have more fruit on this particular variety, it's recommended to have a male and female plant so that it can increase your yield. But the females will fruit without having the male flower or the male plant. So, but next year we're just going to go ahead and get a male and female. We may end up getting 2 females. These plants get up to 20 feet, I believe, tall. Like they're vines, so they don't have like the tendrils, but they'll kind of like, you know, like circle themselves around structures. So what I think would look really cool is to just have like a walkway here of just hardy kiwi plants. So that's the plan with that. Over here, this is my blueberry patch. It actually, there's a lot of dead things going on right now, but that's because I actually planted this plant right here is marshmallow root. And the nice thing about this is, I'll come down here and show you. This plant right here, the last marshmallow root plant is actually right there. So this is all what I had cut off all the way down to here. But in here, right here, this is actually a blueberry plant. It's still alive, but something ate it all the way down to the nub. But if you look down this way, these guys are just fine. Now, we planted these last spring, so this is only their second year as bare root plants. So they're still pretty small, but the marshmallow root actually saved them from getting eaten. So I trimmed it down, but I'm gonna leave it there. I think they're companion-wise great plants. We'll know next year, you know, once they've been in there for a while, whether or not it's going to affect root development for the blueberries. But blueberries are shallow rooted and marshmallow root goes down into the ground. So I'm hoping that they won't compete with each other. So that's my blueberry patch. And starting over here, this is along the non-sun side of our garden. So the sun comes up our garden like this and it sets over here. So we planted some fruit trees along the back end of the garden because the trees won't be shaded, but the trees also won't shade the garden. But we did have two fails here. This is a necticot tree that something ate and it died. And then we have an apricot tree right here that again, something ate and it died. So moving on down here, these are our plum trees. They are still alive, but the leaves have finally fallen off of them. You can see where all the little leaves were on it. But the leaves on them were just gorgeous, gorgeous trees. So these are both plum trees. If you want to know the varieties, I didn't even think to mention that, but this one is a black ice plum. These are from junk seeds. Black ice plum tree. This one is, sorry for the little bit of wonkiness with, oh geez, with the video here. This one is a Juanita plum, and all of our trees are dwarf or semi-dwarf. This is a cherry tree here, and it is Lapin's cherry. There we go, Lapin's cherry. It does say self-fertile, but again, anytime you see something that says self-fertile, it'll usually say, or you can plant it with this to increase your yield. So anytime that you get a self-fertile tree, I always recommend getting a companion pollinator for it because you're gonna get more. So it really just depends on what you wanna do with it and how much you wanna get, but why not have more than less, right? Okay, so here's the other cherry tree that's supposed to be the companion for that one. And this one is a, I can't pronounce that, Danube. Dwarf, D-A-N-U-B-E is the name of the tree. Now these two are companion pollinators, but I think that's gonna look really nice once these four grow in. And we do actually have some apricot seeds that I'm gonna try planting and just see what happens down on the end. But I think it'll be a little cute little like border with a little walkway in between the garden and that is actually a plot of Timothy hay that we were growing for our rabbits, actually. Just a 1,000 square foot small plot. So we're gonna swing around this way. And this is kind of like my micro orchard area. We have a mulberry tree, peach tree, apple tree, peach tree, apple tree. Mulberry tree way over there with the yellow leaves, same as that one. Then we have that big one right there. See if I can zoom in. That big girl right there, that's our old apple tree. It's about 20 feet tall, massively covered in apples. No idea what type of apples, but gives us apples every year. This is our grape area. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grapes here. Then we have boysenberries here, 2 boysenberry plants. They don't look very good because I actually just transplanted them from over here. They were just too close to the goat area. That trellis is not adequate for what we had them planted on, so we moved them. We're gonna get the wire system set up over here between these two and they should be fine. So this little spot here has our rhubarb. You can kind of see like where the rhubarb is. It's got some flowers in there, some mint. Blueberry plant here. This is a pink lemonade blueberry plant right here. It's dying off because it's, like I said, it's the end of the season. And then we got another one right there. So that's that. This did have a path in between, but I let it kind of get a little grassy, so we'll cover it back up and it'll be fine. And then back here we have 3 more grape plants next to the mulberry tree, and then we also have 6 more grape plants here. So you can kind of see I had that landscapey kind of idea to give this a path that goes on either side of that central piece. It kind of goes like this, And these beams in the middle here, that's actually where my hammock goes. So that's that. Then we have more trees over here. Apple tree back here, apple tree, apple tree, apple tree. Big apple tree. You can see all of the apples that fell off, and I've done tons and tons of apples already. So it's definitely been a great, useful tree. And then over here is our goat area. Hi, babies. And I had sunflowers planted all along the back here, with the exception in the middle, because I have 2 dwarf mulberry trees. These I actually planted for the goats because they can eat the berries and the tree themselves. So I'm gonna let it grow up and kind of let it go into the fence a little bit, and they can eat it and we can eat it. And there's another one down there. And then the 2 in the middle are Chicago hardy fig trees, and they are dying off. This is the first year for them. I don't know if they're gonna survive or not, but they're supposed to be hardy to zone 5, so we're gonna find out. I'm not gonna cover them because I don't want to deal with high maintenance type plants. I'm all about easy, you know. All of these trees, that a lot of them we planted this year, so they're still pretty young. I watered for the first couple of weeks and then they were on their own because I just don't have time. But we wanted to get a little bit of an orchard started, because the great thing about fruit trees is after about 5 years, you're gonna get your money back from them. They will produce a lot of food for your family that you can use, but they also will produce excess amounts, depending on how many trees you have, where you can sell your fruits. For instance, at our local store, Bartlett pears are $1.99 a pound. We picked this year about 60 pounds of pears. Last year we picked 80 pounds of pears. That's not including, oh, I forgot, yeah, my pear tree, you can't see it, I'll show you it, but so $1.99 times 60, you're at about, you know, 120 bucks. So that's not bad, because those were the 2 big trees came with our house, so we literally put no money into them. We throw some 10-10-10 at them once a year, and that's it. And they give us all this food. So and if we wanted to pick more and sell them, we could. Let me flip my camera. That's the pear tree. It's actually right next to a manure pile. These are elderberries here. This is a very young pear tree we planted 2 years ago. It has yet to flower, but this is the pear tree. And as you can see, we didn't even pick it all. We picked 60 pounds of fruit from it, and there's still all that up there. It's still got tons of fruit on it. So, well, like I said, that one came with the house, just like the big apple tree I just showed you. So, you know, all of that fruit, it takes years for that to start producing that much, but it's an investment in time that you will get a return monetary wise after that time period of waiting for it to produce. The only other maintenance you really have to do on it is trim it in the wintertime. Like I said, you want to watch those crisscrossing branches. I don't really know that much about fruit trees and trees in general. I just kind of looked up basic information, figured out kind of, you know, what the best kind of mixture of soil is. And honestly, all I did was put some, I dug a hole and I put a little bit of Pro Mix in the hole and mixed it in with the soil that was already in the hole. And it's worked out great. So that's just kind of how I'm gonna plant my trees. But I will say we are one of the only plots of land in Northwest Indiana that does not have sandy soil. Our soil is very rich. It's dark. It's not sandy. We just got so lucky. Our entire property is filled with amazing soil. So for us moving here from Pittsburgh, where it was just like straight clay, where it took us years and years of, you know, adding like, you know, whatever we could get our hands on, leaves and different things, you know, because we couldn't afford to just buy a bunch of stuff to amend our soil. It took us years to build that soil up. But when we moved here, it was like instant. We were perfect. We were good to go, or good to grow. So definitely got lucky there. So depending on where you live and your soil type, you may have to do, you know, a little bit more amending than obviously what we did, but it's definitely worth it. if you can afford it. And if not, I've heard that stone fruits in particular grow pretty true to seed. So it might not be exactly as sweet as the, fruit that the seed came from, or exactly as tart, but it's going to be pretty close. I've also heard that especially the pink fleshed peaches, those ones tend to go pretty close to true to seed. So if you don't have money to guarantee that you're going to be getting the variety that you ordered, that's an option to just do it for free. And the only thing that I don't like about it is a waiting game. It's an investment in time. And, if you're waiting around and then you find out, the tree that you planted from seed isn't going to fruit, or it's not what you thought it was going to be, then you have to start all over, or, start with root stock. And then depending on the age of the root stock, those get more expensive depending on the age and the height. Yeah, so that's definitely an option as long as you're okay with waiting and, giving that investment in time. And then we got a lot of our trees from Jung Seeds, and I highly recommend them. I'm not affiliated with them whatsoever. I did do a video of me pulling the trees out of the boxes. You can go back and reference that just to kind of give you an idea of what they looked like when they came bare root. We also ordered some from Gurney's, but the only thing I didn't like about Gurney's was the trees. So two of the trees in particular, both of the apricot trees, were way smaller than any of the trees that I got from Jung. I was blown away by the sheer size and height of the rootstock that we got from Jung versus Gurney's. But the Gurney's is a great place. They have a warranty. One of our trees died. We reported it and they gave us a gift card for a future order. So we're gonna order another one in the spring. And the other one died and we didn't report it because that one actually, the reason that it died was because something ate it. The necticot died because I think a deer got to it or something. But the apricot actually it was DOA, it was dead on arrival. So they did give us a refund on that. So we'll just order another one next year. But I am right now cold stratifying some apricot seeds that I got from a local farmer's market. So I'm interested to see how those go. They have just barely started to open up. So I am leaving them in the fridge to sprout. And I believe most places that I've seen, you gotta wait about 3 months in the fridge. So I've just been kind of like pulling them out and peeking at them and putting them back in. And another thing that I'm trying from seed is some pawpaw trees. I've never even had a pawpaw before. I didn't even know what a pawpaw was. I have lived in the North my entire life. We moved here from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so this is northern Pennsylvania, but I also grew up until I was 18 in northwestern Pennsylvania, and I never heard of a pawpaw before in my entire life. So, but apparently they grow wild around here, like even in Indiana. So that was kind of interesting to me because I had no idea that they even existed. But I'd heard of mulberry trees, but I didn't know those grew wild here either. And the ones that are in our yard are just wild. And I canned a ton of mulberry jam this year because our wonderful neighbors let us pick some off of their trees too. So, that was really nice. I'm a big fan of free food. Anytime that you can get free food, if you can't afford to go buy blackberry starts, you can always, try to find somebody local. I joined the barter and trade group for Northwestern Indiana, and it's been amazing, because you can say, okay, I have this, what can I trade for this? So if you want blackberries, say you bought some raspberries, put them in the ground, wait till the next year, trim some cuttings off and say, I have some raspberry cuttings, does anybody have blackberry cuttings, and swap, because you can pretty much just stick them in dirt and they'll grow. So things like that are really cool. Fig trees are like that. You can literally just cut a branch off, stick it in dirt, and it'll grow. True to fruit, which is really cool. So I'm hoping those hardy figs will, not die over winter, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, and paying attention to your zones. One thing that I told my husband was, for any future trees that we get, I want to get the cooler zone below ours from now on, because like I was telling my husband, that kind of makes the most sense to me, because then you're almost guaranteed to get fruit that's going to survive your winter. The flowers are more likely to survive frost and things like that if it's one zone colder hardy wise than where you live. So we're going to try that too with any future ones that we get, just to kind of see what happens, see what does better. And then the other thing is, obviously if you can afford it, because it gets expensive, but just getting more than one variety. Like, don't just go out and get 20 gala apple trees. Get, like maybe 3 galas and like maybe, 3 John O'Golds, and like try to mix up the varieties, because one variety may do better than another variety in your yard and your little mini microclimate. So then you're not completely at a loss. If you buy 20 gala trees and for whatever reason they just get hit with like a disease, or they get hit really hard winter wise, and then all your trees are just decimated, you may have a better chance if you kind of mix up the varieties a little bit. So those are my kind of uneducated or slightly educated, I don't know, kind of tips and tricks of starting a little orchard in your yard. And like I said, we have 3 acres here, and we have so many fruit trees. We have so many berries. We have so many basically free food options, because the way I see it is, for most of this stuff that you're gonna buy at the store, once you get, like, depending on what you're gonna use, like say, you would normally can like 10 pounds of blueberries. Well, once you get those 10 pounds, that was my neighbor. Once you get those 10 pounds of blueberries, anything after that is free, basically, because you're never gonna have to pay for blueberries again. So minor costs of, like if you don't have animals where you're gonna have to buy fertilizer, different things like that, of course. But I think it's definitely worth, if you can, get it. And even if you don't have a big yard, I'm actually growing in my window in my living room. I have one of those, like, I don't know if it's called a picture window or a bay window, but it has like almost like half an octagon shape to it, or half a stop sign, I should say, where it's got like the big window and then it's got the 2 on the sides of it. So in that windowsill, and it's actually a north facing window, I have up above it, I have like a shop light, and I turn it on at night when nobody's in the living room, so it doesn't bother us at all. But I actually have a golden nugget orange tree growing there, and a pink lemon, variegated pink lemon tree growing there, and a pineapple that I actually just cut the top off of a pineapple at the store and rooted it, and it's growing. So just some fun little things to try growing in the house. Obviously you're gonna have to keep, like, the orange tree can get up to 8 feet. So it's gonna have to get trimmed down massively. I'm gonna try to keep it down to between 4 and 5 feet, but that's obviously to be determined. My tree's only a year old, and my lemon tree, I think, is only like 6 months that I've had it. So they're still relatively small right now, but those are options too. Obviously you have to pay for electric, but so just to recap, it will be an investment in time, but it will give you a return investment, especially if you have a decent amount where you can sell that excess at a farmer's market or a roadside stand or something. We had 2 big apple trees even at our old house, and we had way less than half an acre there, in a big garden. So like, the smaller the space, the more outside of the box you have to think, and the more, a little bit more research, the more planning you want to do, but you can do it. And obviously, like, even if you don't have a yard, as long as you have enough to spend on a little bit of electricity during the nights to assist in that, you don't even necessarily need a sunny window to grow some orange trees. Now obviously the orange tree and the lemon tree, I'm gonna have to keep them pruned down quite a bit. They get up to 8 feet tall. Obviously I'm gonna try to keep them between 4 and 6 feet, so we'll see how that goes. But think outside the box and just give things a try and see what happens. You can try starting things from seed. That's a really big investment in time to see if they're gonna fruit. But I am trying that as well. We have a little bit extra space, obviously. Basically, I don't want to see any grass in our yard. That is the long end game plan. But we also don't have a bazillion dollars to just kind of throw things all in at once. So we're just doing a little bit every year and a little bit every year, and eventually, when the trees grow, like, I can't wait to just kind of walk around my yard and just pick food and eat it. It's gonna be so amazing. that's been the plan all along, and I can't wait to see that come to fruition. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope you got a little bit of information out of this video, some ideas. I am not here to teach, I am just here to inspire, and I hope I've done that today. Have a wonderful day, guys.